So at this point, I'd like to invite Olivier from Homa Games up to the stage to say hi. And there we
Hello.
go. Hi, how are you?
Yeah, very good, very good. Thank you. And you?
I'm good, thanks. It's really great to have you here, opening up our Incredible Indies track in the afternoon. Kicking off the final portion of our talk. So yeah, it's really amazing to have you. Where are you based at the moment?
Based in Paris, in
Oh,
France.
fantastic. So yeah, so it's about close to the same time. How's the weather over there?
The weather is not super good, actually. We're pretty used to it, but right now it's not super good. But ready for the weekend. I'm pretty sure it's going to be good over the weekend.
Yeah, fingers crossed here. It's a bit murky here as well, but yeah, fingers crossed everything's okay. But yeah, we're really looking forward to your talk. And yeah, like I said to everyone, drop your questions into the Q&A because afterwards I'll be coming back and we'll go through some questions. But for now, I'll wait here while you get the screen sharing and then we'll leave you to it. If you, of course, only if you're ready.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for the introduction. Yeah, actually, I definitely copy that. If you guys have any question or anything you want to raise after the quick presentation I will do about Skyroller, yeah, do not hesitate to write this down in the chat. I'll try to make it quick so then we can take the time to exchange and maybe focus on some topics that you guys believe makes sense or where maybe we'll have debates. So no problem about it. So I'll share my screen now.
Yeah, it's just look perfect. There we go. So I will shut up at this point and leave you to it, and I'll join you back for the question and answer at the end.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. So hello again, everyone. So today we're gonna talk part of this PGC Digital number 2 about one games that is very important for us, Homa Games. It's called the Skyroller. And we actually learned so many things along the way of this project that we believe that it would make sense to share a little bit our learnings and potentially some of the secret sauce of this process. And this is why I'm here today. So to kickstart the presentation, I will go to the next slide if I can. Yep, perfect. Quick presentation of myself. My name is Olivier. I'm French. I'm one of the co-founder of Homa Games. Basically to give a quick explanation of who we are. So we're a company which is based in Paris and Toulouse. So we have now 2 offices. We are actually expanding this year. We've been already having 30 new joiners the last 6 months. One of the big things of the company it's the diversity of the nationalities. As you can see, out of 50 employees, we have 15 different nationalities, and this is something that counts a lot for us. And overall, as a company and what we're doing, so basically we started the company 2 years ago now. We're focusing on building mobile games, basically, and publishing them worldwide. We for now published 17 games. That's all of them capitalize more than 200 million downloads. And we're super excited actually to have been elected one of the top 10 hyper-casual publisher this year by our friends from Happy. Just a quick intro about the company, and then I will go a little bit into details of what we do. So as you've seen in the last slide, we are doing internal development with internal team based in Toulouse and Paris. But we're also doing since day one in the company publishing, so external development with studio that we really count on, and that really believe that the product and the service that we're providing will help them to grow their user base of their games. We're super happy to display some of the names here where we've been working with since a while. Some of them are French, some of them are Australian, Indian. So we're basically working with any type of nationalities and size of studio. I have to be honest, most of them are small structures, so from 1 to let's say 15 people, and this is why this is the kind of collaboration that we enjoyed the most, because we keep having let's say a human relationship, and we keep growing all together along the projects that we're publishing. Today we're going to talk about one mainly, which is called the Top Shop Games. A studio that is based in Australia, and that there is actually the owner of the game Skyroller, and the one that we've been working with for the publication of Skyroller. On the right side of the slide, I just wanted to give a quick explanation of the process for us. Anytime we're testing a new piece of content, whether it's a video, whether it's an image, whether it's a game, from basically the test to the launch, I just wanted to give a quick sum up about it. So basically, the first stage for us is the soft test, where basically we're doing a bunch of tests, including CTR, for example, or what we call internally FMV, so fast market validation. We were trying to assess a pieces of content which sometimes is a game, but also sometimes can be also just a video or an image, and try to understand how this piece of content is attractive. We're of course tracking this down with all different point of data, such as CTR, conversion rate, or the quartile of the view. So many different things that will give us a sense of the quality, but also the marketability of this content. Whenever we see something that is positive or interesting through the data, again, we're going into the test phase where we're going to test a piece of content which is published on the store, and doing a CPI campaign, and try to understand, okay, what is the CPI, what is the retention day one, what is the session length, what is the gender split, etc., etc. And here we will have a better assessment of the content, and we will be able to see if there is way at some point we can promote further this game, increase the user base, and through our technologies also increase the marketability and the profitability of the game overall. If it's the case, then we'll move to the pre-publishing phase. Pre-publishing phase is pretty clear. In our company, we're having excitement, definitely, because it means that the number of or the metrics of this game is looking good, and this is why we put all our effort and bring what we call a squad. A squad is a team of 4 people with diverse background, including game design, UA, creative, and also publishing manager, to improve the game altogether along the way, and to make sure that we can launch the game and make it profitable for the company, and also for the partner that we're working with. And then the launch. So now, as you've seen, I told you, like, we've launched 17 games for now, invested a little bit more than $25 million in the UA investment. And this is backed up by heavy technologies that help us to allocate the right dollar, the right cents to the right users, to make sure we can get the most out of him, and make sure that we can optimize this this revenue that we're getting. So that was just a quick background of what we're doing, who we are, and where basically we want to go. Now I will just go to the next slide and explain you a little bit, go into details with Skyroller, and with whom we've worked with for this very nice and very innovative game that we published with Eduardo, which is the one-man developer, which is part of the Top Shop Game Studio, based in Adelaide in Australia. So Eduardo have created his own studio back a year and a half ago, beginning of 2019, sorry. And basically last year we've been working together on making some prototype, and to give you like quick numbers, Skyroller first prototype that we'll show you later on has been done under a week, which is one of the, I think, most impressive metrics I have to drop you today. And the second one, which is quite heavy as well, is that after several months that we published this game Skyroller back in December 2019, we have now collected, in terms of install, a little bit more than 80 million installed globally on iOS and Android devices. So just a little bit of context. And now I will try to explain you a little bit from day one, the collaboration that we have with the studios, and how we work with the studios, and how it's basically going into like a concrete example of situation with Skyroller. One of the most, I would say today, crucial parts, and the most exciting one, I do believe, it's the ideation process, especially in an industry which is getting more and more competitive. I think there is many ways today that we are trying to put all the tools and all the analysis on the table, to make sure that anytime we're jumping into building a new prototype via Unity, let's say, we're putting all our chance, or maximum percentage of chance, to get the it at the end. This is why we're cutting this ideation and creation process in 3 different steps. First, the concept. Understand the concept is also understanding the marketability of a game, but also like making sure that there is a mechanic awareness that we can reuse or that is like familiar to our user base. In these cases, the way we do it usually is that we have market analytics in the company that help us to understand a little bit the trends, where in which direction it is going, and on which basically trends we should bet and put all our brains on to have the most creative ideas. In these cases, for Skyroller, we've been very impressed by different type of gameplays that were quite similar back in last year, which was around this swipe left and right or up and down. I've taken one example, which is Jelly Shift from our friends from Say Games, where it was, I mean, one of the biggest success as well of 2019, but also like something really interesting in terms of mechanic. So we started like this. Then we basically wanted to cross this over with other trends, but also other KPIs that were positive on our side, and that would lead us to a success in terms of gameplay control and maybe like a game loop. One of the trends that we spotted as well back in the day, there was also some games which have a specific view, a little bit top down, which were in terms of level structure in a way that it was like what we call segmented level. So different type of sub level that would lead you to a progression where you can place a little bit more of rewarded videos in terms of revenue. That was something that could make way more sense. And one of the examples I wanted to bring today as well, it was Hopscotch from Voodoo, which was also something very interesting, and that also got give us a little bit of inspiration to basically cross over all the data and the information that we get when we were going into this direction. The last part is the aesthetic. So basically, depending on the theme, depending on the environment, you can allocate different type of aesthetic. For us, the way we wanted to do it is the most, I would say, flat, but also the most simple as possible. I just brought on the right side of the slide the example of the first development prototype that we had from Skyroller to show you a little bit where we're starting from. So basically here, as you can see, we have like a very simple model of swipe left and right mechanic, where you just have some rollerblades that you need basically to pass down all the obstacles. That was very simple. That was the first draft that we've worked on with Eduardo, and basically that's what led us to having a strong basis where we could work and iterate further. At this point, this video was actually for us flagged as a video that could bring like some attraction from the users. I told you tools such as FMV inside the company give us like some intermediary metrics to basically giving us like a direction, whether it's positive or whether it's negative. At the end of the day, the goal of those of this FMV and those methodology inside the company, which are very driven with data, it's to make sure that developers and studios we're working with are spending the less amount of time of developing before they have like a sign of either it's positive, either the idea is positive or either the idea is negative. Moving on to the next part, which was we had like something that was interesting. We basically had some green lights from the data points, but also in terms of juiciness and in terms of concept, there was something that that was exactly matching what we had in mind. So then we did a little bit of tweak with Eduardo. Eduardo worked quite insanely on the design and on the integration of some small reward and feedback inside the gameplay. And on top of it, I would say the two major improvements or changes that we made was the camera angle and the control that was a little bit improved from the first prototype. So it was mostly the feeling of the swipe left and right. Regarding the camera, it was mostly the fact that before that it was basically a top-down camera angle, and that we switched a little bit to like a back semi-side view, which was a little bit more in the direction of what Jelly Shift have done in the past. After this, actually, we were just having just before this last prototype to be sent to test. all the methodology that we have internally just leave us to guide us to some basic question that we ask ourselves whenever we want to test a prototype or not, which are, is it innovative? Is it relatable? Is it satisfying? Is it short or simple? And those questions sounds very bizarre and very simple to answer, but then it's all a matter about like how you decompose the satisfaction, how you decompose the innovation, how you decompose the fact that it's short. And all those things, we try to decompose them and try to make sure that it can apply to this gameplay here of Skyroller. And I'm not sure if you've played this game, and I really encourage you guys to play it as soon as you can. But I think when I'm just dropping those words, I think it's completely matching what we've been able to produce with Top Shop Games. Basically, the level are short. There is basically segmented level that lets you have different experiences and make sure that you have a satisfaction having a whole level complete. It's pretty simple. It's just right and left swipe your screen. It's also super easy to play. It's kind of innovative in the way that in this market, we've able to actually renew a little bit a trend that was based on the swipe left, right, up and down, and then just apply a different theme with a different satisfying feedbacks. If you play the game today, you will definitely see like the feedback regarding the vibration, maybe the haptic that you're getting whenever you're jumping or whenever you are passing an obstacle. So all those kind of things are, for me and for us at Homa, a decomposition of really some example that define all those words that you can see on the slide today. So after having a pretty good results on the test phase, you know, it's easy for me to drop you some numbers. As you know, there is different platforms that give you different numbers in terms of retention rate, session lengths, etc., etc. I can tell you that we had definitely a higher retention rate day one than 50%. On the day 7 at the beginning, it was not that good, but we were aiming to have something higher than 15% on day 7. What was, I think, the most interesting metrics was also the gender split. It's something we were looking at more and more, is making sure that the audience that we're targeting is not restricted to one gender to another, but make sure that any type of people can enjoy this experience. So then for us, the audience and the audience will target at the end, the end users, this pool of end users is the biggest as possible, I would say. So moving up to the pre-publishing phase. In this phase, so I told you right at the beginning that we were jumping into more a squad organization where you have different different people that have different experiences that jump on the table and are trying to put their best knowledge, their best practices to improve the gameplay. I think in these cases we can go over some crazy list, and I take this opportunity to actually thank the MIFA squad that have been working on this title. Basically, there is a huge list that is both based on the data that we analyzed and the funnel that we analyzed inside the game with the first cohort of the users, but also on the other side from our creativity, but also from the market standard that we will use to make sure that we can, of course, increase the metrics I just mentioned before. I wanted to focus on two different aspects where I believe we've been able to work and to provide like a lot of value. The first one is the game feel overall. You have different, I mean, there is many ways you can decompose the game feel. I did some example here: the haptic, the vibration, the sounds, the speed, the effect, the speed effect, sorry. All those small things, even a haptic or speed effect, you can decompose it on even further subgenre or subcategories of speed effect or haptics. And I think this is where the detail is really important. It's the way you adapt the overall user experience to all those different components of game feel. And I have to tell you that the vibration versus haptic, it's something very, the limit is very thin, but the usage and the right usage of the two things to reward the users, it's extremely important. And I want to emphasize the fact that the haptic and the usage of the power of the haptic, as you know, there is different power that you can give to the user. It's really important. And the feeling of the progression with this, it's really important to play with. Regarding the meta, I think it's it could be something seen as something pretty basic. However, the way it's used on Skyroller, I find it super smart, as the number of collectibles that you have in the shop is insane. I mean, the character that is actually in the screen, screenshot on the right side of the slide, you can change every single thing of this character. And what I appreciate the most is that the items that you're getting are actually funny, actually the same, I would say, user experience than the game. You can have some crazy rollerblades, crazy type of people, crazy skins. So those kind of things, whenever you're jumping into building a meta around your game, I would definitely recommend to add way more, or actually to have like an art direction which is matching your user experience and the overall design of your game, to make sure that, you know, it's as crazy as the gameplay is. Sorry. So here we will see that later, but I do believe that there is a huge work that has been done with Eduardo and the team to make sure that we have some, you know, sexy, fancy, cool, and also very funny items to collect that lead us to have people that stay way longer inside your games. I'm just checking the time to see if I'm on time with the conference. So then we're moving to the launch. So I'll make it quick for this slide because it's something that is for us pretty like a military execution. We have here in the company in Paris 10 people from the UA team, but also 10 people from the tech team that is backing us up on some tools that help us to promote the game in every country in the world and push that in different network with different campaigns. As you can see, like hundreds and thousands of sub-sources to make sure that we're, as you explained at the beginning, putting the right sense to the right on the right users. Okay, sorry. Afterwards, I will just give some quick examples of basically how we used technologies to help our creative team, and how at the end of the day it helped them, like pushing the creativity at a crazy level. Here it's just the usage of your UA console. It's kind of a cheat console that we work with the developer on, and then let the creative team like build some crazy concept. As you can see, there is one, and we've been building like hundreds on that part, and it's helping, as you can imagine, a lot on getting the right ads and the most performing ads. Okay, then another one which is a bit funny. I just wanted to show you a type of ads that in hyper casual you can see. Obviously, it's something that catch the eyes. That is something that is potentially that will raise the curiosity of our users and potentially improve the interest to our games. Just an example of creativity from our creative team. And I think we're almost done. I just wanted to also give a little bit of information of inside the game on how we focus our time and energy on as long as we were good with the day 1, day 2, and the 3 retention rate, we wanted to keep a nice experience for users, not only for the first week, but for weeks to come. And here, as you can see, you see the shop right at the beginning where you had only rewarded video to trigger some characters. And then we added some legendary characters and different type of skins, basically. And at the end, and this is something we're still improving weeks after weeks, it's basically the fact that we can add tournaments, pack, trails, and any type of things that will actually bring more content to users and let the users stay longer inside the application. And I do feel that those experiences lead us to have some people and some users that were super excited to actually build their own characters, put any type of rollerblades with their characters and any type of skin. So that's kind of exciting. And by numbers, we're seeing that those kind of things are basically putting a huge impact on the retention, long-term retention rate, and also the in-app purchases. I think it's my last slide, and I think we're gonna be on time. The last part is regarding some of the aspect that we're really focusing on along the way when we promote the game. It's everything which is related to the IPM, so the way you promote your game and the performance of the promotion of your game. The icons, for example, here has been it's one of the key components of the success of an acquisition strategy. especially for the ASO part. And here is the type of logo to give you like a difference in terms of performances and how we managed to jump from a plus 7% of conversion and then plus 14 by moving up from different model and A/B testing many types of icons. Okay. Yes, and yes, I'm open to any question that you guys have. As you can see on these slides, we have two kind of funny characters that we have now in the game, and this is exactly what our users are now looking at. It's basically building their own characters and then make them stay like as long as possible inside our games. Thank you so much. Open to question, guys.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a fascinating talk, and yeah, we've got a little bit of time for questions. So I've got one in the system. We normally find that people start asking more once the questions start going, and I've got a question as well to ask. But I'll start with the one from the audience, which is, what was your monetization strategy for the game, and how much? They say how much revenue were you able to generate? I mean, obviously you might not be able to talk numbers, but I think we're looking at how successful the game is.
Yeah. No, sure. So I'll try to answer in two different. I give you two different answers. The first one regarding the monetization strategy. So the game obviously it's an hyper casual game. So most of the time the revenue it's more like 95% of the revenue from ads and 5% from the in-app purchases. This is something the IP revenue that we're trying to increase step by step by doing the optimization I was actually just sharing. Then regarding if we're talking about the ads itself, obviously the rewarded video and the interstitial we're trying to have a nice balance and make sure that we had more content so the users can trigger a rewarded video and get more content. And on the other side, same thing for the in-app purchases. We're trying to give more experiences, tournament, trades, etc., to make them actually enjoy a longer experience and then pay with their credit card to get this. So that's for the first one. And then regarding the revenue, obviously I won't be able to give you the number, but I will give you some tips to calculate the number. Those kind of games, usually hyper casual games, you can roughly believe that the average cost of acquisition is, let's say, if we take all the countries, iOS and Android, the average would be between 15 cents to, let's say, 30 cents when you are doing some scale. And then the revenue per user will be, let's say, from 30 cents to, let's say, 70 or 80 cents, depending on your optimization. I gave you actually the number of installs that we got. So 80 million installed so far. So I'll let you do a little bit of math and it will give you like a rough number.
Fantastic. And as predicted, the questions are starting to roll in now. So the next one that came up is, did one person make all of this, or did a team support them in adding features, skins after they proposed the concept to you?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. So Eduardo has done like everything himself. He has actually used some assets, but Eduardo alone as a developer worked here on this game. However, after we were optimizing the game and building and putting more content, I asked the help of an external art person to help us building the very nice character that you can see on this slide. So overall, I would say one person and also some extra tasks with the art designer to build the character, and the rollerblades.
Okay, fantastic. And another question from Dan in the audience, who I know well. Hi, Dan. Is what was the balance between interstitials and rewarded ads?
Yeah. So I wish I could give like exact number, but I know that by far this number like increased from the rewarded video side. Right at the beginning, Dan, we were, I would say in terms of revenue from, if we focus only revenue from ads, let's say there is 5 to 8% on banner, and then it was mostly like 80% on interstitial. And this ratio, by the work done by the squad and Eduardo, decreased for the interstitial, and we have now like an average split between rewarded video and interstitial. So it's like, I would say half average.
Fantastic. And then to my question, since I'm going to sneak it in selfishly, I was wondering, you obviously, talked a lot about, testing, balancing, looking at prototypes, all that sort of stuff. And as we know, and I know from the Big Indie pitch and everything, hyper casual is a massive market at the moment, and it's becoming more and more crowded. And as such, whilst it's more and more popular, it can become harder and harder to stand out. So, do you find that there's any sort of key things that you guys are looking for in terms of, you know, saying that this game is going to work? And at the same time, do you think hyper casual can sustain the amount of content that is coming in at the moment?
Yeah, so to answer your first question, so I definitely believe that there is many opportunities, many room for improvements, and many place for innovation. Obviously, the innovation, you can see it on a different way, but the way I see it is basically that when you use a game engine such as Unity, there is so many new things coming up in every update of this game engine that it gives you like many opportunity to actually dig into this and actually take the innovation from the game engine and then apply it to some new mechanics or potentially new gameplay. So of course there is a lot of space for new games, new developers, many new things coming up. The only things I would recommend is making sure that straight from the beginning, whenever you start to think about an idea that you want to execute with your game engine and you are on the paper, there is different things that you should think of. Is first the innovation of, I mean, if we're talking about the hyper casual industry, the innovation of your gameplay, of course, the marketability. So try to understand a little bit the market and where it's heading, and also the definition of the hyper casual game, which is like it should be something very simple, very easy to understand, and it sounds basic when I go back to those explanations, but we see like so many people like wanting to do the extra mile and going into some too complex mechanics, and maybe like just few days of work give us like a sense of an idea that we can test, and then we will maybe like move further and then and work further on this game if the metrics are looking good. So yeah, to give you a quick answer, let's go back to basic and play with the innovation that is coming along with the game engine such as Unity, for example. Yeah, and the second question was more about the market. I think it's the same answer.
Yeah,
I'm very excited about what's happening in the market. I have actually, and maybe I will be a bit promoting Homa here, but on the market there is many ways to innovate. Homa Games has shown like recently with the game that was including an IP in hyper casual, that basically there is many new ways in this new genre that is actually 2 years old, 3 years old, that there is new things that you can add in. And adding an IP such as, let's say, Nerf, for us, it's something super new, and it brings like attention, it brings excitement. It's the same thing. It's only 3 years old, so there is many new things coming up, and I'm pretty sure that we'll see exciting things in 1, 2, or 3 years in this specific category, which is hyper casual.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with us. I know we've got some more questions coming in, but unfortunately we've hit time and we've got our next speaker ready. But if you do have a chance to head into the Discord or anything, I'm sure that people will be able to discuss these sorts of things in there. But,
yeah, I will go there straight away. Yeah.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
No worries about the
Thank you.
question.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And to anyone who's been asking the questions, if you want to head down into the Discord, then there'll be a chance there to ask the questions. Other than that, though, thank you so much. A really fascinating talk and a great way to open our, the final part of our incredible indies and industry visions and values track.